sense enough to put in Felton at left half.
Is Felton good, Father?
Good, my dear Nell. He's the greatest broken field runner since Willie Heston of Michigan.
Oh.
Yes, sir? Never mind, Felton. You played a great game. Everyone's entitled to a fumble now and then. Thank you, sir.
There you are, young man.
Thank you, sir.
All right, my dear.
Mister! Are you Mr. Wilson?
Yes?
You, president of Princeton?
Yes?
Then why the heck don't you get a football team?
You know, I've been thinking about that myself, young man. If you know anybody who wants to swap a good halfback for a rather moth-eaten professor of economy, is your man.
Ribbon on it while I hitch your dog into the shade. Through the fields of clover we'll ride on to Dover on our golden wedding day. Put on your old gray bonnet with the blue ribbons on it while I hitch your dog into the shade. Through the fields of clover we'll drive on to Dover. On our golden wedding day.
Mr. Wilson in?
Yes, sir.
Will you tell him, please, that Senator Edward Jones would like to see you?
Oh, will you come in, please?
Thank you.
Will you come into the study?
Is that him?
Yes.
What kind of a professor is he?
I'll tell Mr. Wilson you're here.
Thank you.
Not a bad layout for a school teacher.
The college owns it. They just let him live here.
You know, Ed, I think it'd be kind of nice if the state did something like this for us boys. History of the American people, constitutional government, mere literature. Say, did you know he wrote these himself?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Professor. I'm Senator Jones.
Big Ed?
That's right. my nephew, Jim Beaker.
How do you do, sir?
Mr. Beaker.
My old friend Ed Sullivan, Professor Wilson.
How do you do, Professor?
Mr. Sullivan. Won't you sit down?
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure, Senator. Take
Yeah,
it.
thanks.
Well, Senator, what can I do for you?
Mr. Wilson, how would you like to be governor of New Jersey?
Governor?
There's a strong progressive movement running in this country. People are looking for a change.
Yes, but why me? I'm not a politician.
No, but this fight you've put up to abolish these social clubs and run Princeton on an equal footing for everybody has got a lot of people talking.
I was under the impression I'd been defeated in that fight.
Oh, people don't take those schoolboy matters as seriously as you do, Professor. All they can see is that you're against special privilege. That's enough for them.
Besides, your books on how to run a government are known all over the world.
Oh, you read my books, Mr. Sullivan.
Well,
Let's say we've heard them spoken of very highly.
Of course, gentlemen, this is all very flattering. But to be perfectly frank with you, Senator, you're barking up the wrong tree. I'm a school teacher, which must make me something of an idiot in the eyes of a lot of good people. It's even worse. I'm a Southern Democrat in a Yankee stronghold.
We just won't tell anybody about that, Professor.
Besides, you must realize this isn't the sort of decision I can make overnight.
Well, take your time, Professor. There's no hurry. Convention is still a long way off. We better not take any more of your time. I know how busy you are. Come along, boys.
yes, sir.
Thank you, Sullivan.
I'm going to say I'd be afraid.
Mr. Wilson, I have a feeling that this, shall we say, casual meeting is going to be the beginning of a very delightful association for all of us. Indeed, I regard it as the beginning of a new era in the state of New Jersey, one upon which we will all look back with everlasting pride. Good night, sir.
Good night, Senator.
And you will think it over, Professor.
I'll do better than that, Senator. I'll have my wife think it over.
Good night,
Good night, Mr. Wilson.
Was that really Big Ed himself?
In person?
What did he want?
Oh, nothing of any importance. He merely wants me to run for governor.
Governor?
Jerusalem! You, Governor?
And why not?
What did you tell him?
Oh, that I'd think it over. And, of course, ask your permission.
Woodrow, you didn't.
Have I ever done anything foolish without asking your permission?
Woodrow, I know you haven't any personal ambition just to hold office, but you must admit the opportunity is rather unusual.
So it is. So it is.
You must get awfully tired sometimes of a mere talking profession.
You're quite right, my dear. I will admit there are moments when the academic life has its drawbacks. The idea of a man my age suddenly giving up a nice, comfortable way of life and launching out in a sea of ifs and buts sounds like the account of a fool.
But Woodrow, you've always been interested in politics.
Only as an observer on the sidelines, my dear.
Yes. How about the time when you were a student at the University of Virginia and wrote your father that you'd made up your mind you were going to be a senator?
Yes, and had cards printed. Senator Thomas Woodrow Wilson.
A youthful indiscretion. I was young then, young lady. Very young. About your mental age. Besides, you know perfectly well I've certain responsibilities to Princeton.
Your work at Princeton is done, and you know it. You believe in the principles of democratic equality, the abolition of any special privileged class. If these things are worthwhile at all, don't they apply to all the people, not just to Princeton?
You mean you really think I should seriously consider it?
Oh, I do, Woodrow. I most assuredly do.
We all
We
do,
all do.
Father.
Oh, Father, you'd make a beautiful governor.
Of course.
I declare I never met such a collection of ambitious women in my life. If I do go into this thing, and mind you, I'm not saying I will, I warn you, and you, and you, and you, You're going to have to kiss all the babies. That's one thing I draw the line on. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Many of my friends are very much worried about this campaign. They tell me I'm conducting it in the worst possible way because it appears I'm asking you people to think. On the other hand, my opponents are even more worried because they expected my speeches to be mere academic lectures on government filled with glittering generalities that have nothing to do with the situation in New Jersey. Apparently, they've deluded themselves into thinking that I have no political experience. Good heavens, no political experience. I wonder if these gentlemen have ever attended a faculty meeting or seen the wives of the trustees in action.
That's all very amusing, Mr. Wilson. Why don't you tell us what kind of a deal you've made with the bosses?
Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. I've made no deal with anyone.
I suppose you're going to deny that there's even such a thing as a boss system in New Jersey?
No. The existence of the boss system is notorious.
Then what are you going to do about it?
Bend all my energies to breaking it up.
When you say bosses, do you mean Big Ed Jones, Jim Baker, and Ed Sullivan?
Hey, who's that boy? Joe Tumilty, one of them Irish lawyers in the legislature. Claims to be a Democrat, but he ain't voted right once. Not once. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Keep quiet here. Quiet! Everybody, quiet!
All right. Go ahead. Thank you, Judge.
Of course I mean Big Ed. I feel about him exactly as I feel about every other boss, whether he's a Democrat or a Republican. Senator Jones understands exactly how I feel. In fact, just so there would be no misunderstanding about it, he has given me his word that in no circumstances would he permit his name to be presented to the legislature as a candidate for re-election to the United States Senate an office for which I consider him utterly unfitted.
What do you say, Big Ed? I say the candidate speaks for the party.
Sees you. Let them!
Great. He'll win in a war.
Yeah, but suppose he means it.
Nonsense. They had him in a corner. What else could he say?
That's the same. I don't like the cut of that fellow's jaw.
I tell you, he's something new in politics. A scholar and a gentleman with ideals and principles. You can't beat that when it comes to electioneering.
Wasn't he wonderful?
The most idiotic campaign speech in the whole history of politics.
I don't understand.
He means what he said.
Gentlemen, your attention, please. 9:18 p.m. Returns from 22 counties. Wilson leading by 40,000 majority.
Mr. Wilson, will you step on the outside of Mr. Wilson?
All of you look this way, please. Mrs. Wilson, thank you.
Where do you expect to live, Mrs. Wilson?
Well, we haven't made our plans yet.
What are you girls going to wear to the inauguration?
I don't know.
We haven't decided. What jewelry are you going to wear?
None.
Well, that's right. The Wilson girls don't believe in jewelry.
Oh, yes, we do. We just haven't any.
If you'll step over here.
What's your first move, Governor?
Right there. Thanks very much.
Have you made any appointments?
Gentlemen, if you'll wait a minute, I'll be glad to write out a statement.
Oh, that's all right, Governor. Just give us some personal stuff.
Quite an upset, Professor.
Any election's an upset, young man, if you're unfortunate enough to be elected.
Lean over close to Miss Wilson, Governor.
I have to put up with this sort of thing in my own home.
Yes, my dear. Every day from now until the end of your life. So you might as well get used to it.
Smile.
Smile.
Hold still.
The legislature has had sufficient time to digest the contents of this bill, gentlemen. Therefore, I must insist that it be brought to a vote immediately, regardless of the opposition.
You're right, Governor. We have the votes. I say let's go ahead and let them howl.
Excuse me, Governor.
Yes, Tumulty?
Senator Jones has arrived with Mr. Beaker.
Thank you, Tumulty. Will you send them in, please? Will you gentlemen excuse me?
Surely, Governor.
Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Senator.
Governor.
Beautiful
Mr.
day.
Beaker. Sit down, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, you sent for me, Governor?
Yes. Did you authorize this statement to the effect that you have decided to be a candidate for the United States Senate?
At the insistence of many of my friends, Governor.
But you publicly stated that in no circumstances would you be a candidate.
A man says a lot of things in the heat of a campaign, Governor.
But to go back on your word, less than a year after the election would be outrageous and indecent.
Oh, come, Governor. People don't take these matters as seriously as you do. They've probably forgotten all about it.
I beg to differ with you, Senator. I haven't forgotten, nor have the people.
But surely if the party feels Uncle Ed's the man for the job.
The people who elected me have already decided that he's not.
Now, hold on, Governor. Let's get one thing clear. I nominated you. I elected you.
Then you should have exercised better judgment in your choice.
Would you be satisfied to announce your opposition publicly and let it go at that?
If you insist on going through with such bald-faced deceit, I shall have no recourse but to fight you with every means in my power.
Well, looks to me as if the professor here expects to give us the bum's rush and run this whole show to suit himself.
I consider your language coarse, Mr. Beaker, and your manners offensive. However, you seem to have grasped the idea perfectly.
I don't want to quarrel with you, Governor. I know how seriously you take all these reform issues and how hard you've worked. What you need is a nice long rest.
Good day, Senator.
Be sensible, Governor. We know you've got your eye on the White House. But what chance do you think you'd have for the nomination if your own state organization is against you?
Get out.
You're no gentleman.
You're no judge.
I still don't understand it. He seemed like such a nice fellow, too.
I told you I didn't like the cut of that fellow's jaw.
What gets me is the way the newspapers all over the country are picking this up. Making him out a hero.
Yeah, it'd be just like that darn fool convention to go on and nominate him for president now, whether we like it or not.
The Republicans split wide open between Teddy Roosevelt and Taft. They can elect him, too.
Well, if you ask me, that'd be a whole lot better than having him hanging around New Jersey.
Yes, I'll tell Governor Wilson you call the moment he returns. Come in. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, thank you, sir. Hello, boys.
Hello, Tumbley.
What's that?
More applications for the Wilson for President clubs. There's Rochester and Atlanta and Oyster Bay.
What? That's Teddy Roosevelt's hometown.
Well, I come from there, too, Mr. Tumblety.
Governor Wilson's office. This is his secretary. Oh, yes, Congressman. How do you do? Sorry. The governor's out of town at the moment on a very important mission. I wish I could tell you where he is. But it's something very close to his heart. Something I'm sure you'd approve of.
We were sailing alone on the moonlight bay. We could hear the voices ringing. They seemed to say, you have stolen her heart. Now don't go away. As we sang love's old sweet song on Moonlight Bay. Henry! A very important mission, hmm? Official business, no doubt.
Yes, it's odd, but it seems something important like this comes up at least once a week.
Yes, every time the palace changes its program.
Well, they tell me you've taken to politics like a billy goat to tin can, raising Cain all over the place. No wonder they want to kick you upstairs into the White House.
Oh, you mustn't take these Wilson for President clubs too seriously. Remember, a lot of people still regard me as a pretty dangerous fellow.
And so you are, but it's too late now. I've already paid out $5 to help bamboozle the public.
Just throwing it away.
Maybe. But Teddy Roosevelt's a Harvard man. Bill Tash from Yale. And I'd give $5 of my money any day to let a Princeton boy have a crack at both of them in the same game.
Willie, I'm delighted.
Nebraska's favorite son, William Jennings Bryan.
Daniels. Wilson's at the governor's mansion at Seagirt. We'd better get him on the telephone. I don't like the way this Bryan thing is going.
Neither do I, but McCombs here's his campaign manager. He doesn't seem to think there's anything to worry about.
It's too early. Besides, the Associated Press, every newspaper in New York has a direct wire to the governor's place. He probably already knows what's going on.
That William Jennings Bryan, he's trying to steal the nomination for himself.
What's he done now, Tumulty?
He's got his band playing hymns.
It is my great honor and distinguished privilege to place in nomination for the exalted office of President of the United States that great statesman from Alabama, Oscar W. Underwood. I give you that great statesman from Missouri, a great servant of the common man, the Honorable Champ Clark. New Jersey appreciates the honor of placing before this convention as a candidate for the presidency of the United States, the seer and philosopher of Princeton, the Princeton schoolmaster, Woodrow Wilson. first ballot. Clark, 440. Wilson, 324. Underwood, 117.
Sounds like our golf score.
Thank you, Tumulty.
Say, those reporters have been after me all morning, Governor. Won't you say something?
Yes. You may tell them that Governor Wilson received the news of the first ballot in a riot of silence. Oh!
Good out.
The chair recognizes the leader of the New York delegation, the Honorable Charles Murphy of Tammany Hall.
New York wishes at this time to change its ballot and cast its 90 votes for the next President of the United States, Champ Clark of
Just a minute. William McCombs, Governor. He wants to speak to you personally.
Hello, McCombs.
The jig's up, Governor. It looks like a stampede for Clark. This last parade's been going on for over an hour now. You've got to send me a wire withdrawing your name. I can't hold your delegates any longer.
What's the score now?
Clark, 556. Wilson, 350 and a half. It's hopeless. No candidate yet has ever received a majority without being nominated. I told you all along. We should have made some kind of deal with that New York delegation.
What's Bryan going to do?
He's been hoping he could play you and Clark off against each other, then get the nomination himself. But it's too late. We're licked. It'll be Clark on the next ballot.
Just a minute. Coombs sounds pretty excited. Thinks I should send a telegram releasing my delegates.
I knew it all along. That Tammany Hall.
Now I know why the Democratic Party picked a jackass for a mascot.
It's all right, Woodrow. At least we'll be able to get away for a holiday.
Thank you, my dear. Hello, McCombs. Hello?
Told him
already. Let me have that phone bill. Governor. Hello, Governor. William G. McAdoo speaking. I just heard what McCombs told you, but he's dead wrong. You can't withdraw now. Clark will never get a 2/3 vote. Well, wait a minute. If you don't believe me, here's Josephus Daniels. He'll tell you the same thing.
Hello. He's right, Governor. McAdoo is right. You're stronger than ever. Your delegates will stick if it takes all summer.
Just a minute. That's odd. My convention manager tells me we're defeated. McAdoo and Daniels say I can't lose. What do you think?
Stay in, by all means.
Certainly, Governor.
What do you think, Ellen?
But you've nothing to lose by staying in.
That's what I think, so I will stay in.
Good.
Hello, McAdoo. Thank my friends and tell them we'll see it through.
The delegates will resume their seats, and the sergeant at arms clear the aisle. Mr. Chairman, for what purpose does the gentleman from Nebraska arise to explain my vote? Speaking for myself,
And for any of the delegation who may decide to join me, I shall withhold my vote from Champ Clark. So long as New York's vote is recorded down here. And the state board, Nebraska's second choice, Woodrow Wilson.
I've had them hiding out there for 2 days. What if I hadn't been nominated?
Oh, I made arrangements with them to fold up their tents like the Arabs and silently steal away.
To you of business and government, of capital and labor, of privilege and equal opportunities, my only purpose is to rehabilitate democracy and to prove to the world that the democratic system can successfully meet the economic, industrial, and social problems that confront us. Because I believe, as Lincoln did, that democracy, with all its faults and failures, if properly guided and interpreted, holds the future of the world. My great dream is that as the years go on, the world will turn to America more and more for those moral inspirations which lie at the basis of all freedom, and that America will come into the full light of the day when all the world shall know she puts human rights above all other rights, and that her flag is not only the flag of America, but the flag of humanity.
I thought you'd like to hear these. I cordially congratulate you on your election and extend to you my best wishes for a successful administration. William Howard Taft. The American people, by a great plurality, have conferred upon you the highest honor in their gift. I congratulate you thereon. Theodore Roosevelt.
President of the United States.
It's the students, Woodrow. They've come to serenade you.
I have no feeling of triumph tonight. Only a sense of solemn responsibility. I know only too well the very great task ahead of me. And I look pleadingly to you, the young men of America, to stand behind me, to support me. That's all I can say, except good night, and God bless you.
Every heart and every voice, bid every care withdraw. Let all with one accord rejoice in praise of old that song.
President, I'm Hoover, the chief usher.
How do you do, Hoover? This is Mrs. Wilson.
How do you do, Mr. Hoover?
My daughters, Miss Jessie,
How do you do?
Miss Margaret, Miss Ellen.
It occurred to me, Mr. President, perhaps you and Mrs. Wilson might like to inspect your living quarters before luncheon.
Thank you, Hoover, I would.
This way, please.
We'll take the elevator up.
It's this way, sir. Pretty big, isn't it?
Who's this?
That's Mrs. John Tyler.
Look, Father, here's a picture of President Taft.
Yes, very good, too.
Oh, Mother, it's lovely. I thought it was going to be grand and overpowering, and it's not at all. It's just a home.
Does it amaze you so much that our predecessors also had good taste?
Come look at my room. I'm sure it's the one in which Abigail Adams used to hang out her laundry.
No, that was the East Room. I looked it up.
Look. Mistress Dolly Madison. And don't anyone dare tell me she didn't sleep here.
Can't you almost feel them?
Heavens, you don't think the house is haunted, do you?
I don't know, but a lot of them were extremely reluctant to leave here during their lifetimes.
Hello, Jane.
In this room, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation of January 1st, 1863, whereby 4 million slaves were given their freedom and slavery forever prohibited in the United States.
Imagine it in my room.
Miss Nell, guess what? They've got 3 automobiles here. And an electric. And the chauffeur said we could use them whenever we wanted to.
Well, that's not bad for a family that never even owned a horse and buggy.
Oh, I wish we were having an inaugural ball tonight. It'd be such fun.
Father hates a lot of fuss.
I know, but just for tonight, I wish he was a Republican.
President Lincoln's bed.
He must have been an awfully big man.
He was.
My dears, your father and I have a little gift for each of you in commemoration of this day.
Oh, Mother.
Oh, Mother.
Oh, it's exquisite.
It's the most beautiful ring I've ever seen.
Oh, a bracelet watch. Mother, it's just what I've always wanted.
Mother.
Diamond pendant.
Oh, it's too beautiful. But why did you, how did you?
Well, as you know, I borrowed a little money from the bank to pay my campaign expenses, and this was left over.
Oh, Woodrow, it's too nice.
Perhaps. Then you mustn't forget I've got a better job now, shorter hours, more pay. Come in.
Excuse me, Mr. President, but luncheon is served.
Oh, thank you.
Sims, sir.
Thank you, Sims.
Howdy, Miss Ellen. You don't remember me, do you?
Why, no,
My family lived right behind yours in Rome, Georgia. My mother did your mother's washing for close on to 30 years, I reckon.
Why, how nice to have someone in the house from down home.
Yes, indeed, Miss Ellen. It's going to be mighty nice for me, too, having some ladies and gentlemen around here that speak my language.
I came here for. He didn't want my advice.
Nor anyone else's, Senator.
Once he's made up his mind, nothing in heaven or earth will change it. Bye, Joe.
Bye, Senator Goodhouse.
At least he listened to our side of it.
Oh, he was polite enough. Somehow he always makes me feel like an unruly schoolboy. I catch myself being afraid he's going to reach out and rap me over the knuckles.
Morning, gentlemen.
Oh, Senator Lodge.
Morning, Senator.
Well,
Morning,
Senator, didn't
Senator.
expect to find you here.
Oh, yes. We Republicans still do business with the government. Occasionally. Good morning, Senator Lodge.
Donalty, will you announce me to the president?
Yes, of course, Senator. Won't you sit down, sir?
Thank you.
Awfully glad to see you back, Colonel.
Glad to be back, thank you.
Colonel House.
Hello, Donalty.
Welcome home. Come in. Governor's waiting to see you.
Senator?
Colonel House?
Will you go right in, sir?
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry, Senator. Colonel House just got back from Europe, and the president's anxious to see him about a very important matter. You don't mind waiting just a minute, do you?
Not at all.
House.
Governor.
Welcome home.
Thank you.
I am glad you're back.
Have you seen the morning paper, Senator?
Yes.
By the light of the silvery moon, the silver moon, I want to spoon to my honey a croon, love's tune. Honeymoon, 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 I was living in June.
Oh, just a minute, just a minute. Ellen, come and help us out.
Oh, I can't. I promised Helen we'd finish this invitation list tonight.
Poor Ellen Bones. I told you what you were letting yourself in for when you took this job as Ellen's secretary.
Yes, Cousin Woodrow, but you didn't tell me what a White House wedding is like.
It's all Jess's fault. She hadn't decided to get married.
Well, I like that. What about your own wedding?
That's different. Mac lives here in Washington. But you have to go and marry somebody that lives at the other end of nowhere.
Well, Helen, if these people are going to be so blue, perhaps I'd better join them after all. Oh, goodness only knows why they need my voice. They know I never could sing a note.
By the light, by the light, by the light of the silvery moon, the silver moon, I want to spoon to my honey a croon, love's tune. Honeymoon, 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 keep a shining in June. Your silvery beams will bring long dreams, we'll be cuddling soon. Someday soon, my silvery moon, the silvery.
Are you ill?
I don't know. I'm all right.
Come and sit down.
I'm just a little faint.
Get some water.
Mother, what is it?
I'm just a little dizzy, that's all.
You've been doing too much.
This is all this entertaining. You can't keep it up.
Well, that's my job. The president has to entertain.
Not if it's going to affect your health. You'd better lie down.
Nonsense. I feel perfectly all right again. I'll just sit here for a moment while you go on with your song.
Not tonight.
Please. I insist. It'll sound much better without me. Please.
The silvery moon, I long to spoon to my honey a croon, love's tune.
shining in June. Your silvery beams will bring love dreams. We'll be cuddling soon by the silvery.
Washington's so hot in the summer. I wish you girls didn't feel you had to sit here with me.
Oh, Mother, we like it here.
Your poor father. He's hardly been out of that chair for a week.
Where's Father now?
I made him lie down. He looked so tired. Besides, I wanted to speak to you girls alone. Of course, I'm sure I'm going to be all right. But if anything should happen to me, I want you girls to promise me one thing.
Mother, don't even say such things.
Your father is a great man. Promise me you won't let him be a lonely great man.
Mother, please.
More than anyone I've ever known, he needs sympathy and loyalty and companionship. He needs a woman's love and attention, and understanding. Someone he can turn to and trust. A wife is as much a part of him as his very mind or heart. I know, because I've been his wife. Promise?
Of course we promise. But, Mother, it's ridiculous of you to talk like this. You'll be up and about in no time. You know it.
I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Excuse me, Governor. Senator Carter Glass telephoned. He wants to know, can he see you this afternoon about that Federal Reserve Bank matter?
Tell him he'll have to excuse me. I can think of nothing while Ellen's like this.
All right, Governor. He'll understand.
Father, you promised Mother you'd play golf this afternoon.
I know. But I can't. I can't bear the thought of her suffering.
Please, Father, she wouldn't want you to feel like this.
She's always been the most radiant person I've ever known. For 30 years, I've never had a thought in which she didn't enter. I couldn't go on without... I'll never forget the first time I ever saw her. I was practicing law in Atlanta. I had to go to Rome, Georgia on business. Her father was the Presbyterian minister. I went to his church. I'm afraid I couldn't have told you what the sermon was about.
She saw you, too. She always said she was glad she had on her prettiest hat.
I don't think any two people were ever so happy. When I was teaching at Bryn Mawr and at Princeton, when you girls were babies. It's this place that's killing her.
She's been happy here, Father, and so proud of you.
No, she's done too much. I didn't realize it.
She wouldn't have been happy doing any less.
Well, Grayson?
She's sleeping now. So far as I can tell, there's been no great change since yesterday. Just a gradual weakening.
There's no hope?
Medical science is not the last word, Mr. President. We can only wait and see.
Only something we could do. Some way we could help.
It's difficult.
Extra, extra! Lusitania torpedoed off coast of Ireland! Over 100 American lives lost! Extra, extra!
Ought to be wiped out, a lot of them.
German sub sinks Lusitania! Over 1,500 die! Lusitania torpedoed by German sub!
Blooded murder. Wholesale slaughter. We'll be at war with Germany in a week.
It's not our war. Why should we get mixed up in it?
If Americans don't want to get hurt, let them stay home.
I bet Teddy Roosevelt would know what to do if he was in the White House.
More than 100 American citizens murdered on the high seas. And that man in the White House, too proud to fight.
But we have no choice.
These Huns must be taught a lesson.
We can't stand by and watch the rest of the world slipping into anarchy.
We've got to declare war.
No, no, no. Our people were warned to stay off that ship. How do we know that it wasn't carrying munitions?
Nonsense. That's nothing but German propaganda. Congress is all set to act. It'll back us up in a minute.
But what about the people?
Don't worry about the people. They're good and mad.
Read your newspapers.
Mr. President, do you know people are saying openly that this administration lacks courage?
They may call me a coward or or anything else they wish. I won't be rushed into this war.
Does that mean you're going to overlook the most dastardly crime of which any civilized nation has ever been guilty?
No. I shall warn the German government in the strongest terms of which I am capable that in future it will be held to strict accountability.
Another note?
Yes, another note.
But these Germans pay no attention to notes. The only thing they understand is force.
But I'm not so much concerned with what the Germans do as I am with our own responsibility, which is to keep out of this war if possible, so that at the right time we can offer ourselves as the only nation in the world with sufficient strength and influence to bring about a decent and lasting peace. The vast majority of Americans expect me to keep my head and save them from this awful mess. I don't want them to say when the casualty lists start coming in, why did Wilson have to move so fast? Why didn't he make at least one more effort?
But have you considered what this policy of uncertainty is doing to our economy?
Cotton down to 6 cents. Our goods rotting on the docks, afraid to put to sea. Our farmers and railroads facing ruin.
I haven't thought to consider this war in terms of dollars and cents.
Nor have the fathers and mothers of this country, Mr. President.
No, gentlemen. It'd be the easiest thing in the world for me as president to ask for a declaration of war. The man on horseback is always a hero. But I wouldn't have to do the fighting. Some poor farmer's boy or the son of some great family would have to do the fighting and the dying. When I ask them to do that, I want to be very sure that what they're dying for is worthwhile. Good morning. Oh, thank you, my dear.
You really should be in bed, Father. It's very late.
Yes. I'll go along directly. It'd be nice if we could run away from it all. You know, once upon a time, your mother and I did just that. I'd been working very hard in the first draft of mere literature. Without telling anyone at the university, we slipped out for a holiday in the country. I think it was just about the most perfect 2 weeks I've ever known. We tramped in the hills, slept in the sun, and walked alone at night under the stars. Your mother was a very wonderful woman, Margaret. She had that rare quality of always being close to you when you wanted it, when you needed it.
Read all about it. Germany agrees to quit submarine warfare. Read all about it. Germany agrees to quit submarine warfare. Extra, extra. Germany agrees to quit submarine warfare.
How long will Germany live up to it?
As long as it suits her convenience.
I suppose we'll have to go along with Wilson's preparedness program.
Not his preparedness program, ours. We started it. We pushed it when he would have nothing to do with it. Now he's trying to take it over, claim it for himself because he thinks it's good politics. Never mind that. It has to be done. Not only will we have to go along, but we'll have to lead the way. Put aside any thought of party and do what we can to save this country.
Well, Mr. President, Teddy Roosevelt can't say that you haven't adopted at least one of his policies.
Thank you, Joe. What's that?
The strenuous life.
It's the president.
And looking the worse for wear, I'm afraid.
Hello, Cousin Woodrow.
Come in. Come in.
Cousin Woodrow, I want you to know my friend, Mrs. Galt.
I'm delighted, Mrs. Galt.
Of course, you know Dr. Grayson.
Oh, very well, for a long time.
Have you forgotten? I introduced you to Edith.
Oh, yes, of course. We've been for a walk in the rain, and I persuaded Edith to come back here for tea with Margaret and me.
Tea? Sounds delicious. May we come too?
Shall we let them?
As patriotic citizens, I don't see how we can very well say no.
You're from the South, Mrs. Galt.
Yes. I had the honor to be born in the same state as you, Mr. President, Virginia. She's a descendant of Pocahontas.
Well, that is Virginia.
Yes.
We shan't keep you waiting long.
Oh, don't hurry. Give us time to freshen up a bit. Excuse me.
Charming woman.
Very. You play golf, Mrs. Galt?
Oh, yes, Mr. President. And this will give you an idea how well. The last time I played, when I was on the 9th fairway, about 200 yards from the green, I asked my caddy if he thought I could make it with my mashie. And he replied, "Yes, ma'am, you can make it, allowing you hits it often enough."
We're going down the Potomac next weekend on the yacht. Would you care to join us, Edith?
Oh, I'd love to. But I promised to visit the Hastings in Virginia.
Oh, that's a shame. I'd hoped you could come. Cousin Woodrow will be terribly disappointed.
The President asked for me.
You're the only woman I know who can wear an orchid. Generally, it's the orchid that wears the woman.
I think this is my favorite spot at the White House.
It is lovely.
I asked Margaret and the others to leave us alone for a while, that I might have an opportunity to say something to you.
Yes?
I need you, Edith. Will you be my wife?
Mr. President.
I know this comes as a shock to you. Perhaps I've been too impulsive. But if I'm to continue to make opportunities to see you, I must speak.
How can you be sure? You've only known me a few months.
time isn't always measured in weeks or months. In the past year, I've lived a lifetime of loneliness and heartache. You've changed all that. Given me hope that happiness is still possible.
Have you spoken to your daughters?
Yes. They tell me they already love and admire you and that nothing would make them happier.
But I've never thought of you, except as the president. And besides, I've had no training that would fit me for the responsibilities of such a life.
Would you rather I'd not spoken?
Oh, no. There isn't any woman who wouldn't be touched to be told that she could be of help to a man in your position in times like these. But I'd have to have time to know you and to see you and to be with you.
Do you want to see me?
Yes, I do.
Then I'll wait. But in all fairness to you, there's something you should understand. There's a spotlight on this house. Everyone who comes here is observed and discussed. Everything I say is quoted, sometimes even correctly. No matter how I try, I can't protect you from gossip.
I'm not afraid of gossip.
It'd be even worse if I came to your house.
But surely you have the right to choose your own friends.
In this job, I'm not sure I have any rights at all.
This gossip you speak of, would it hurt you what you're doing?
It's you I'm thinking of.
Well, then, I suggest that we go on exactly as we have in the past. But as to being your wife, if I have to say yes or no now, then I'm afraid the answer must be no.
Won't you at least give me the hope that you might change your mind? That maybe when you know me better,
I'd be less than a woman, Mr. President, if I didn't reserve that right.
Mr. President.
Election coming up, too. There's no use beating about the bush, Edith. You know about the whispers, the gossip that's going on. He heard about it today. Naturally, he would be the last to hear. I've never seen him so angry in my life. His lips went white. His hands shook. I think if he could get his hands on those scandalmongers, he'd forget he's president.
Oh, no. He mustn't do that.
What's worse, some of his own friends are mixed up in it. They're afraid that a second marriage will prevent his re-election.
What do you think?
That his own political fortunes don't make any difference to him. It's you.
Nothing must stand in the way of his re-election. I'd never forgive myself if I were the cause of his defeat.
Edith, he's the President of the United States. But first of all, he's a man. And he loves you. To do what he has to do, he needs you.
Thank you, Dr. Grayson. It was very kind of you to tell me all this. I'll write him my decision.
Thanks, Edith.
Hello, Joe. What's the news? Not a thing. How's it with you?
Oh, all right.
No notes to Germany?
No.
No sinkings?
No.
No messages to Congress about us being too proud to fight?
Sorry. Just the usual routine.
Jumping Jupiter!
What is it? What's the matter?
And next! The announcement is just made of the engagement of Mrs. Norman Galt of Washington, D.C. and Woodrow Wilson, President of the United States.
Imperious Majesty appears to be in good spirits tonight.
Time will remedy that.
Really think we have a chance to defeat him in November?
Not defeat, Senator. Obliterate.
Those big blue eyes like you, Daddy, reminds me of you all the time. When he grows to be a man, I'll give him up to Uncle Sam, just like I did with your Daddy.
College sissy, and once again substitute action for elocution.
He kept us out of war.
Woodrow Wilson is the most incompetent, vacillating, insincere, and cowardly leader this nation has ever endured. He kept us out of war.
Wilson and his dynasty, his heirs and assigns, anybody who with bended knee has served his purposes must be driven from all control, from all influence upon the government of the United States.
While we watch a world in flames, we must not forget what is happening here at home under our very noses. Private initiative is being stifled. Business is being put into a straitjacket, all under this false claim that this is democracy. When, as a matter of fact, it is nothing but the blundering of a starry-eyed idealist.
Re-elect Woodrow Wilson. He kept us out of war.
A weak and imbecile man. The weakest I ever knew in a high place. If I wanted to paint a despot, a man perfectly regardless of every constitutional right of the people, I would paint his hideous form.
That's outrageous.
When he goes out of office next March, the whole country, except thieves, cowards, public plunderers, office holders, and traitors, will rejoice.
Woodrow, that's the last straw. You've got to do something about it. They've no right to say such things about you, even to win an election.
Oh, they weren't talking about me. That's what they said about Abraham Lincoln when he was running for re-election in 1864.
I understand Teddy Roosevelt says you're the most incompetent man to ever occupy the office, Woodrow. Worse even than Thomas Jefferson.
Frankly, I've been much more concerned with what our own side's been saying. All this prating about he kept us out of war.
Coffee?
No, thank you. As if I or anyone else can look into the future and see what is or is not to be. Any little German lieutenant can put us into the war tomorrow by some new outrage on the sea tonight.
Would you mind very much if you should be defeated?
Well, I don't suppose any man wants to see his policies repudiated.
I heard the betting in Wall Street closed at 10-8 against you, Father.
I hope you didn't take any of it.
No.
Governor.
Yes, Thomas?
Governor, the New York Times has just conceded the election to Mr. Hughes.
Well, it's only 9 o'clock. How can they be sure? They're still at the polls in the West.
Yes. Does seem a bit early. Coffee, Thomas?
Thank you, Governor.
However, the Times is generally right. In the meanwhile, I see no reason to despair. The government's not going to collapse just because I've been left at home. Hughes is an honest man and a very capable one.
As a matter of fact, his own party referred to him as Wilson with whiskers.
With whiskers?
Of course, my wife may feel the country's judgment's a bit warped.
I can only think that you'll be free from all this worry.
Waiting for election returns is like a hen sitting on a nest. Except that the hen uses better judgment than a politician. She never cackles until after she's laid the egg.
May we talk to Mr. Hughes? The president has gone to bed. He left word that he was not to be disturbed.
Well, when the president wakes up, will you give him this and tell him you're not so sure he's president after all?
Thank you. Well, Mr. President, we can do this all over again.
Another 4 years. Another 4 years.
Congratulations, Mr. President. And the public's to be congratulated, too, for their good judgment.
Thank you.
I never gave up for 1 minute, Mr. President.
You didn't? Well, I did. I'd have sold out pretty cheaply election night.
Well, you just got through by the skin of your teeth in the Electoral College. But you polled 3 million more popular votes than in 1912, and that's not to be laughed at.
Why on earth any man should want a job like this for another 4 years is beyond me. But I confess I did want it.
Mr. President.
Baker?
Secretary? Has the President retired?
Yes, sir.
Wake him, please. Tell him that Mr. Lansing, Secretary of State, His Excellency Count von Bernstorff, the German ambassador, are here, and that we must see him at once.
Will you wait in the East Room, sir?
Thank you. Mr. President.
Mr. President. Mr. Lansing, Your Excellency. What is it, gentlemen?
Mr. President, I'm sorry to disturb you at such an hour, but Count von Bernstorff has just handed me another note from his government.
Yes?
Beginning tomorrow, Germany will resume its policy of unrestricted submarine warfare.
We have no other choice, Mr. President.
And will sink on sight and without warning any neutral vessel entering European waters.
With certain exceptions, of course.
Yes, I believe one American ship will be permitted to leave a designated port each week, provided it is properly lighted and marked.
We deeply regret the necessity of this decision, Mr. President. And we sincerely hope you will not permit it to interfere with your noble efforts to bring about peace with our enemies.
Sit down, sir.
We also have received indisputable proof within the last hour that the German government has been using our own State Department cables in an effort to foment trouble between this country and Mexico.
What?
With California, New Mexico, and parts of Texas as bait.
I deny any such thing,
The proof is overwhelming, Mr. President. There can be no doubt.
Count von Bernstorff. For more than 2 years, this government has exercised every restraint in its efforts to remain neutral in this conflict. But you and your military masters, apparently, are determined to deny us that right.
But I assure you, sir...
Every way we turn, we run into a blank wall of German cruelty and stupidity. Every time we think we've escaped, you blindly and deliberately block us with some new outrage.
Mr. President!
Sit down. Won't you Germans ever be civilized? Won't you ever learn to keep your word? Or to regard other peoples as men, women, and children of flesh and blood, and not as inferiors to be treated as you see fit, all in the name of your discredited German culture and race superiority?
I wish to withdraw, Mr.
We are not exactly fools. We know about the spies and conspirators you've sent among us in an effort to corrupt our opinions through lies and rumors, and of your ceaseless attempts to sabotage our industry and commerce. Unfortunately, some of our own people have fallen in with your plans. And day after day, I see them going up and down this country, doing your work, crying out in their innocence that this is just another European war that can't touch America, building up a false illusion of safety and security, appealing to our ancient traditions of isolation, while you smile behind their backs and go right ahead with your evil plans of world conquest and exploitation.
I bid you good night, Mr. President.
You will wait! Is your Kaiser so contemptuous of American military prowess? Does he think we're so weak and disunited just because we prefer peace to war that we will not fight in any circumstances? Or is he so drunk with power that he can't understand that such action will unite this nation as never before in its history, and that he has made it clear at last that this is in truth a fight for freedom and decency against the most evil and autocratic power this world has ever seen? Mr. Lansing.
Mr. President.
You will hand His Excellency Count von Bernstorff his passports immediately. Good night, sir.
profound sense of the solemn and even tragic character of the step I am taking, and of the grave responsibilities which it involves. I advise that the Congress declare the recent course of the Imperial German government to be, in fact, nothing less than war against the government and people of the United States, and that it formally accept the status of belligerency which has thus been thrust upon it. In so doing, let us make clear to all the world what our motives and objectives are. We have no selfish ends to serve. We desire no conquest, no dominion, no material compensation for the sacrifices we shall freely make. We are but one of the champions of the rights of mankind. We shall be satisfied when those rights have been made as secure as the faith and freedom of nations can make them. It is a fearful thing to lead this great, peaceful people into war. But the right is more precious than peace, and we shall fight for the things which we have always carried nearest our hearts. For democracy, for the right of those who submit to authority to have a voice in their own government, for the rights and liberties of small nations, for a universal dominion of right by such a concert of free peoples as shall bring peace and safety to all nations and make the world itself at last free. To such a task, we can dedicate our lives and our fortunes. Everything we are and everything that we have, with the pride of those who know that the day has come when America is privileged to spend her blood and her might for the principles that gave her birth and happiness, and the peace which she has treasured. God helping her, she can do no other.
commissions, commissions. Good heavens, how many second lieutenants are there?
Excuse me, Father. There's someone here who wants to say goodbye to you.
Come in, come in. Felton.
Hello, Mr. President. Miss Wilson.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
Thank you. I don't want to take your time, Mr. President, but I just wanted to say so long before I shoved out.
You're leaving soon?
Well, I'm afraid that's a military secret, sir.
Oh. Quite right, too. Well, take care of yourself, Felton.
Yes, sir, I will.
And don't be too impatient with us.
No, sir. I'll try not to be.
Well, son, goodbye.
Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, Lieutenant, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to see me. Thank you very much. Very much.
Goodbye, sir.
It's her, I tell you.
Oh, it couldn't be.
I'm sure of it. Don't kid me. Why don't you go and ask her then? Find out for yourself. Okay, I will.
Thank you, lady. Coffee.
They've been trying to tell me that you're the president's wife.
Really?
They can't string me.
You don't think I look the part?
I say you don't.
I agree with you. But when you come back from France, if you come to the White House, I'll do my best to look as I should. Or better still, why don't you speak to the president himself about it? There he is.
Slippery, aren't they?
I'll get you another.
You are the...
In this war, even the president has to do KP occasionally.
Hiya, Mr. President.
How are you, young man?
Gosh, I never thought I'd get to be shaking hands with you.
Golly, I can't wait to write home about this.
Neither can I, only they'll never believe us.
Howdy, Mr. President.
Hello, Mr. President.
Where are you from?
Milwaukee, sir.
German?
My father was German. I'm just an American.
And you?
Well, my name's Vespucci, Mr. President, but I'm just an American, too.
I guess there's something funny about all of us, Mr. President. Mike here's a bohonk. Me, I'm just Irish. Tex here claims he's just from plain Texas.
At least ain't nobody told me any different yet.
Now, this is all very interesting, boys. I want you to remember it. Here we are, men of all races, with different backgrounds and ancestries, working together for a common purpose. That's what's made America what it is. And that's what the whole world must learn to do someday. I know there are some people who say that this is just another war to protect the great fortunes or for some other economic reason. I don't believe them. If anybody tries to tell you that universal peace is just an idle dream, tell him he's a liar. Say your president said that you're fighting this war so there won't have to be any more wars. And that when we get through with it, we're going to sit down with the people of other countries who feel as we do and work out some plan which will make it unnecessary for boys like you and your sons to have to go out and shoot one another. Maybe we'll call it a league, maybe we'll call it something else, but whatever it is, that's what you're going to France for. And with the help of God. That's what you're going to get.
Yes, sir.
Company! Fall in! All right, you guys, get back on the train. What are you trying to do? Hold up the war?
Take it easy, Sarge. We've just been talking to the president.
Says you. All right, you...
See? What'd I tell you?
Carry on, Sergeant.
Yes, sir. All right, men. Get back on the train.
Bye.
Come on, Mr. President. Don't you worry about this war. We'll take care of it for you.
Thank you, soldier.
For our part, we see very clearly that unless justice is done to others, it will not be done to us. The program of the world's peace, therefore, is our program. And that program, the only possible program, is based, as we see it, on these 14 points.
Open covenants, openly arrived at.
Freedom of the seas.
Self-determination. Free trade and impartial adjustment of all colonial claims.
League of Nations.
Did you bring this month's casualty figures, Baker?
Yes, sir. This is not one of my most pleasant tasks, Mr. President.
I know. 112,000 of our boys dead so far.
That's only an approximation, Mr. President. All the figures are not in, of course.
183,612 wounded.
Fighting's been heavy, almost ceaseless in the past week.
Woodrow. It's bad. But try to think what these boys are dying for.
$112,000 dead.
Come in.
Governor.
Yes, Doubleday?
Governor, here's a message that just came from the Swiss minister.
The German government requests the President of the United States to take steps for the restoration of peace.
Woodrow.
Mr. President.
The basis to be the program laid down by the President in his 14 points.
Thank God.
So you're going to Paris to write the piece, are you?
And to buy my wife a new bonnet.
You think that's a smart thing to do?
What, to buy me a new bonnet?
To get mixed up in that bunch of wildcats over there.
Well, I don't know how smart it is, but I consider it most essential.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I was wondering, it's only a thought, mind you, no thank you, if your influence wouldn't be even greater if you stayed here. Served as a sounding board. Oh, thank you very much. And if mistakes were made, you could repudiate them.
I hope no mistakes will be made.
Lettuce sandwich.
Oh, I'll get you another one.
No, please don't bother. Who'll go with you?
Well, Lansing, of course, and House.
No, I meant someone from the Senate. Remember, they'll have to approve any treaty you agree to.
Whom have you in mind?
Well, Senator Lodge is chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, and a very practical man.
Have one of these, Professor.
Thank you, Edith. Ah, one with meat in it.
That's the trouble. Thank you. Too many treaties have already been written by practical men. Now, if I take anyone from the other party, it'll be someone like Henry White. He served in our embassy in Paris. He knows Europe.
May I point out, Mr. President, that this is the heyday of nationalism among nations. In Paris, you're going to meet the ablest politicians in the world, practical men, many of whom will be concerned not so much with peace as with national boundaries, indemnities, and new balances of power. Many of our own people here at home are going to share their views. It might be wise for you to have a practical man along to cope with such people.
Mac, I agree with you as to the situation. I disagree with you as to the solution. In a world full of practical men, more practical men would hinder rather than help. Our great hope lies not in me or in any other individual, but in the power of right. People all over the world, the common people, have set their hearts and minds against selfish nationalism. They've paid with their blood and treasure. I must go, not alone as President of the United States, but as the spokesman for these peoples of whatever nationality. Our own people expect me to go. To do anything less would be unthinkable.
Well, I suppose if your mind is made up, there's nothing we can do about it. Still, if it were up to me, I'd take Lodge, put him right out in front, make him help carry the load. Of course, I'd keep my eye on a little... Oh, excuse me, Edith. On that little goatee of his.
Thank you, Senator. Well, they tell me in Italy they're even burning candles in front of his picture.
Kaiser Woodrow. Or is it St. Woodrow now?
He's having a field day, all right. But wait till that old tiger Clemenceau gets through with him. He'll be lucky to come back with his shirt.
It's America's shirt I'm worried about.
This will put a firecracker under him. Maybe now he'll realize there's such a thing as the Senate and the Constitution. All this business about remaking the map of Europe, giving away this, giving away that, talking about America not having any material interest in this war. What about the money we lent them?
Oh, I don't think we need to worry, gentlemen. We now have the names of 37 members of the United States Senate affixed to this document.
Senator Lodge, you haven't expressed yourself. Are you still with us?
My views on this subject are well known, gentlemen. Nothing that has happened in Europe or elsewhere has caused me to change them.
And you'll introduce the resolution yourself?
I should consider it an honor, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Mr. President, France can accept no treaty that does not include the Saar Basin and all territory west of the Rhine.
But France has no right to that land. It belongs to the people who live on it.
They can go where they please. My government demands the land and its resources. So do our people.
That's impossible. When the Germans surrendered, it was on condition that we protect their rights. That's written in the Armistice. You yourself signed it.
And the Germans forfeited their rights in this war. They are murderers.
Monsieur Clemenceau, I will never be a party to such an agreement. It violates everything we said we were fighting for. To take part of Germany and cede it to France is nothing short of theft.
You live in America, Mr. Wilson, with an ocean on either side. You can afford to be lenient with your enemies.
If you're not prepared to abide by the solemnly accepted terms of the Armistice, I might as well go home.
And if such opposition to our just claims is continued, I might as well resign.
You're breaking your word.
I am pro-German.
Gentlemen, let us consider these matters calmly. I'm sure that we all believe in the self-determination clause of the 14 points.
It is not right to do wrong, even to make peace. Besides, the covenant of the League of Nations is sufficient guarantee of France's safety. Under its provisions, there is not the slightest shadow of a doubt but that the United States and Great Britain will instantly rise to the defense of France should Germany ever again become hostile.
That's all very well, Mr. President, when you speak of what America will or will not do. But are you prepared to guarantee what America will do?
I am.
Are you aware that a block of 37 senators have signed a resolution stating that the League, as you propose it, is not acceptable to the American people?
I am perfectly aware of that document, monsieur. However, I should like to remind you that these men do not compose the entire Senate, nor do they reflect the opinion of the American people, regardless of party. As a matter of fact, some of the leading members of the Republican Party, including former President William Howard Taft and Charles Evans Hughes, have expressed approval of the League. And I will also give you my word for this too, monsieur. If these 37 men, who represent no opinion but their own, dare try to block, to thwart, to betray the first honest attempt of the world to achieve a permanent peace, the American people will rise in their anger and smash them as they would an alien enemy landing on their shores.
Mr. President, I bow to you. Shall we resume our discussion?
you here in the hope that we might come to some understanding about the League of Nations.
I don't mean to be facetious, Mr. President, but whose understanding, yours or ours?
One we can mutually uphold.
In view of our stated positions, I wonder if that isn't expecting a great deal.
Senator, I'm sure we all have one purpose in common: to serve the best interests of the American people.
But apparently we have very different ideas as to what constitutes their best interests.
In that case, shouldn't we at least try to reconcile our differences?
The treaty would have been approved weeks ago by the Senate if it weren't attached to your league.
Not my league, Senator. As a matter of fact, I'd be more inclined to call it your league. For I seem to recall that in 1916, you yourself advanced the thought that the nations would have to unite for peace, and that there would have to be an international police force to enforce it.
The fact that a man happens to have changed his mind does not bear on the real merits of any question. And even if he happens to be a convert, some good work has been done by converts from the days of St. Paul to the present time. Besides, even in my wildest dreams, I never contemplated the pledging of American arms and economic sanctions every time some ambitious ruler of Europe or Asia coveted the lands and resources of another. We should constantly be involved in broils and quarrels that are none of our business.
Yet let me remind you that in every discussion of the peace during the war, we promised...
I beg your pardon, you promised.
This government promised that some way would be found to avoid such catastrophes as we have just been through. Other nations have accepted the principles of the League. It is inconceivable to me that we who advanced it should go back on our word.
If that is your unalterable view, I'm afraid we shall not get very far.
Just a moment, Senator. Perhaps we've made mistakes. All of us. But regardless of the treaty, or what you individually may think of it, or of those who wrote it, let me remind you that the League is irrevocably attached to it. And the League is the only hope the world has to avoid wars in the future. Unless you can advance a better idea, I beg of you to consider that and to help save that hope.
I too have my ideals, Mr. President, and one of them is peace. But a realistic peace that we can surely maintain. One which will not siphon off the power and prestige and resources of the United States. If you had wanted my views on this matter, you could very easily have obtained them before you went to Paris. Before you made concessions to the statesmen of Europe. Before you burned all your bridges behind you. This is not the age of miracles, Mr. President. Nor of miracle workers.
America has but two choices, gentlemen. It must accept a League of Nations, or live with a gun in its hand. It's for the people to decide. Thank you for coming here. Good day.
Good day, sir.
You may start making arrangements at once for our trip.
Governor, your health.
I'll have no more haggling with that man. I'll stump the country and let the people know exactly what's at stake.
But, Governor, you know what Dr. Grayson said. You can't afford to take the risk.
I promised the young men of this country that we were fighting this war to end wars. Now it's up to me to see that we meant what we said.
Woodrow. For my sake, why don't you do as they ask? Accept the Senate reservations and get this awful quarrel settled.
Don't you desert me too, Edith. I couldn't stand.
My dear, I'm only thinking of you, of your health.
I have no right to accept any changes. And even if I did, don't you see, they'd come back tomorrow with 46 more. It's just a scheme to kill the League entirely.
Forgive me. I should have known.
Whatever mistakes we've made about disarmament, boundaries, reparations, or colonies, the League will be in a position to arbitrate and rectify. The League is the vital and compelling part of the treaty. But there can be no united action, no League of Nations in the true sense, without America's participation. The isolation of the United States is at an end.
Mr. President, you'll have to give up this trip and return to Washington at once.
That's impossible.
It's not only possible, it's imperative.
But I can't stop now. People are beginning to understand. If I desert them now, they'll be confused and misled.
40 speeches in 17 states in 22 days. No one could stand it.
I'm scheduled to speak here in Pueblo. People are waiting for me. There are several points that still have to be explained.
But you could speak here another time. I wouldn't ask you to stop if I thought there was the slightest chance of your being able to go on. But you'd kill yourself.
I must go on. All right. People of Pueblo, my fellow citizens, I feel like asking the Secretary of War to get the boys who went across the water to fight together on some field where I could go and see them. And I would stand up before them and say, boys, I told you before you went across the seas that this was a war against wars. And I did my best to fulfill that promise. But I am obliged to come to you with mortification and shame and say I have been unable to fulfill that promise. You are betrayed. You fought for something that you did not get. And the glory of the armies and the navies of the United States is gone like a dream in the night. And there ensues upon it
in the suitable darkness of the night. The nightmare of dread which lay upon the nations before this war came. And there will come some time, in the vengeful providence of God, another struggle in which not a few 100,000 fine young men from America will have to die, but as many millions as are necessary to accomplish the final freedom of the peoples of the world. I will... Thank you for coming. So tired.
Mr. Tumulty, will you please tell the newspaper men that we're returning to Washington immediately?
His whole left side is paralyzed. But his mind is perfectly clear and untouched.
Will he recover?
He'll improve with time. But for the present, he needs rest, quiet, release from every disturbing problem.
Yeah, but how's that possible? Everything that comes to the president's a problem.
Wouldn't it be better if he'd resign and let Mr. Marshall succeed him?
No, 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 Edith. He's staked his life on getting the League ratified. If he resigns now, this great incentive to recovery will be gone.
Besides, his resignation would have a very bad effect on the country. For that matter, on the whole world.
Our thought is that you have everything of an official nature come to you. You can weigh the importance of each matter and, in consultation with the heads of the various departments, decide what he must see and what can be left to others. In this way, Edith, you can be of great service to him.
No, I can't do it. It's too great a responsibility.
Even though his life may depend upon it?
In that case, there's only one answer. I'll try.
Well, Mrs. President?
Woodrow.
What's on tap for today?
Don't you dare to call me that. You know very well I never even made one decision without your knowledge and consent.
I know it. You know it. But do our enemies know it?
I'm not concerned with what our enemies know.
You should listen to them, my dear. You learn a great deal.
Such as what, Cousin Woodrow?
Well, during the war, for instance, I never would have dreamed that Edith was a German spy if I hadn't kept my ears open.
Nor, I suppose, that you bargained with Wall Street to bring on the war in the first place.
For that matter, I never would have suspected that I was insane if the Senate hadn't sent the Honorable Albert Fall to look me over.
Oh, that man.
I don't see how you can take it so calmly, Cousin Woodrow. I'd scratch their eyes out.
Oh, Woodrow handled Senator Fall beautifully. As he was leaving, that gentleman said, "Mr. President, the Senate is praying for you." And Woodrow, without batting an eye, asked, "Which way, Senator?"
I'm afraid I'm much more concerned with what my grandchildren and their generation think of me than I am with what the present lords of the earth have to say. No memoranda today?
They've passed the Volstead Act over your veto.
Well, now we'll have prohibition. I trust. Oh, Tumulty.
Governor, the Democrats have nominated James Cox of Ohio.
Cox on one side, Harding on the other. Cox for the League, Harding against it. Well, the lines are drawn. It's clearly up to the people to decide.
Governor?
Yes, Tumulty?
Governor, it appears that Senator Harding has won an overwhelming victory. Senator Harding has issued a statement to the American people declaring that the League of Nations is now a closed incident.
Thank you, Tumulty.
Yes.
Well, Edith?
Yes, Woodrow.
If these good people will excuse us, I'm sorry I won't be able to stay for the inauguration ceremonies, but Mr. Harding and Mr. Coolidge have been kind enough to excuse me. I told them it was bad enough for the Senate to throw me down without my stumbling and falling up the steps on my own account.
Mr. President, 8 years.
Goodbye, Marshal.
Goodbye, Mr. President.
Goodbye, Mr. Marshall.
Good luck, sir. was a pleasure serving under you.
Thank you, Burleson.
Mr. President,
Daniels, we've taken a house in S Street. I hope to see you there often.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. God bless you.
Goodbye, Mr. President.
Goodbye, Alexander.
It's a great honor to have been in your cabinet, Mr. President.
Houston, thank you for your very able support.
Goodbye, Mr. President.
Goodbye, Wilson.
Mr. President, now that the United States has rejected the League, can we ever hope for peace, a real understanding between nations?
Yes. I'm not one of those who has the slightest anxiety about the eventual triumph of the things I've stood for. The fight's just begun. You and I may never live to see it finished, but that doesn't matter. The ideals of the League are not dead just because a few obstructive men now in the saddle say they are. The dream of a world united against the awful wastes of war is too deeply embedded in the hearts of men everywhere.
Goodbye, Mr. President.
Goodbye, Mr. Payne. And I'll even make this concession to Providence. It may come about in a better way than we proposed.
Goodbye, Mr. President.
Just Woodrow Wilson now.
You still have 1 minute to go, Mr. President. Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, Baker.
Bye, Edith.
We hope to see you often.
Mr. President.
Senator Lodge.
President, a joint committee of the House and Senate is here to notify you that the Congress has completed the business before it and now stands ready to adjourn. Unless you have some further message.
The President has nothing further to communicate. Good day, sir.